Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Price with the Nashville Public Library Special Collections Division, which is right upstairs on the second floor and home to two of Nashville's beloved community spaces, the Civil Rights Room and the Votes for Women's Room. If you haven't visited those spaces yet, I invite all of you to return and explore these places that tell stories and share experiences of Nashville's rich and diverse history. I want to welcome everyone here tonight for the fourth program in this year's season of Then and Now, the history of Nashville's minority communities, presented by Vanderbilt University. Nashville Public Library Special Collections is honored to host this series and are thankful to all of you here tonight and for those watching live on YouTube. As such, please be mindful that we are recording tonight's program. Please remember to validate your parking ticket if you parked in the library garage, which will validate up to 90 minutes. And the validation machine is located at the main circulation desk in the lobby. Before we begin tonight's program, let us be reminded that we occupy the ancestral and traditional lands of the Cherokee, Shawnee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Creek nations. We are humbled and we honor all the ancestors of this land on which we meet today, from the elders who have gone before to the generations to come. It is now my pleasure to introduce Vanderbilt's Dr. André Churchwell with us tonight in his role as Senior Advisor to the Chancellor on Inclusion and Community Outreach. Dr. Churchwell.
You didn't mention the question. Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Welcome and good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is actually the penultimate program for this year. This is our 11th in the series of the Vanderbilt and Nashville Public Library Then and Now series on the history of minority communities in Nashville, Tennessee. Those that have been attending these, and I've noticed we have some return visitors, which is great. We've traversed the globe from looking at our Latinx and Hispanic community, where they originated from, how they arrived here. Our indigenous community that's here in Nashville, they were actually here before all of us, so they were here. Their journeys were very short. We had the African-American journey, which is connected to this story too, from enslaved Africans that came here and landed here and stayed in Nashville, Tennessee, to create a burgeoning community tied to the major HBCU institutions here in this city that have sustained roughly about a 30% percentage of the population of Nashville, Tennessee, Davidson County, since the Civil War. How about those numbers? And so we're really glad we've really had an opportunity to hear a lot of great stories. And this will be a continuation of storytelling. Today's program are those communities that originate from Sub-Saharan Africa. We have representatives here from Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Kenya. Please note, we generally cannot represent all the country states from a region, but focus on those that our team has connections with and serve in a much more larger percentage of our community. It is relevant to say, and you'll hear more about it, that once again, our native African-American community here in Nashville that are here on the basis of being the ancestors of enslaved Africans certainly came from the sub-Saharan continent, from coastal Africa. And then, of course, we've had a large ingrowth or egress into Nashville of members of the community from Sub-Saharan Africa over the years, tied to many of our HBCU educational institutions, but coming on their own too, and we'll hear more about those stories. Again, the purpose of these programs is to learn from historians and personal stories from our community leaders, to hear the challenges and successes they have incurred in their path from their native country to America and to Nashville. These shared stories are again part of the tapestry of many colors that make up our southern city's quilt. In some cases, these country states and their national connections have not been publicly discussed, not in a large amount, and not certainly heard by many in this room. This is one of our great opportunities to hear and learn from these stories. Our program has a standard template, as you know. We begin with a brief review of the history of the region represented, and that'll be done by Dr. Moses Ochuno, the Cornelius Vanderbilt Chair in History and Professor of African History at Vanderbilt University. He'll be followed by a longstanding community leader here who's been here for over 25 plus years to offer their take of this community and what he has seen in the growth of this community and their successes and challenges. That'll be done by Dr. Gatlick Turthak, President and CEO of NICE, Nashville International Center for Empowerment. We must acknowledge that as we plan these programs, the currents and tides of recent events can alter the messages that our speakers deliver. That is definitely something to note today, given the reduction in the United States aid to support immigration programs such as Dr. Thak's. He will share with us some of his thoughts about that today. Next, we'll hear from a number of our community leaders as they share their unique bios and journeys to Nashville. Before we proceed, though, with these presentations, my great friend and colleague, Samara Lee, the research professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University and co-chair Vanderbilt's Project on Unity and American Democracy, and founder and CEO of Millions of Conversations, will offer some welcome remarks. Samara.
Thank you and good evening and happy spring. I say that because we've been going through this series for a while now. We first kicked off this particular part in December, right around the holidays. So I love how we're moving through the seasons together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And also to just give a very big shout out to my co-host here, Dr. André Churchwell, who just received the Leadership Award for Diversity and Inclusion. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Institute for Medical and Biological Engineering. So he just came back from Washington, D.C., having received that award. Very proud of him. We're very honored and lucky to have Dr. Churchwell here in Nashville and at Vanderbilt. He is a national figure, really, and the fact that he is from, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I haven't done it before, and I want to do it. He went to Pearl Cone High School in the class with Oprah. East High with Oprah, and I say that because he's born and raised here as a part of the community. Went all over the country. Went to Emory, spent some time in Atlanta as well, and then came back here and has had a number of different positions here, including being the doctor to many people in our community. So when we think about that quilt that he's talking about, there's a big piece of that quilt that has Dr. Churchwell's name and fingerprints on it, and we really wouldn't be here tonight having the series. It's the 11th in the series. We wouldn't without his vision. And that vision of thinking through that how do we reflect on the impact that people have had from coming from all different parts of the world on our community right here in Nashville, right here in Middle Tennessee, and in Tennessee at large? And I have been learning so much through this series. And again, I just want to reflect on his leadership, because I've seen it in spades. And that dedication from one of the most busiest people that I know, who's just every single week has been hosting meetings with a group of us to say, how do we make sure this is as close to perfect as possible? So we hope you enjoy the evening. And I will say, as I'm reflecting myself on the influence that Sub-Saharan Africa has had on our state right here, I'm going to start with myself, and that is just to say, one of the most richest experiences of my life has been my time in Sub-Saharan Africa. It deeply shaped me, and it has left a significant impact on me. And I think, and also the people who have come from there to live here have left and are making a significant mark, which you'll hear about tonight, in Nashville and Tennessee and in the world in ways that we're going to be exploring through this magic of storytelling. All of this is recorded, as mentioned, and it will be a part of a historical archive that is being housed here in the library. And I think you're in for a real treat tonight. So thank you.
I didn't slip her any money for that, so I appreciate that, Samara. Thank you very much. I should acknowledge her parents are here too, please. So I really esteemed physicians from Waverly who have really left a mark of spectacular care over in West Tennessee that I'm quite familiar with, having worked with them. Now we'll have Dr. Moses Ochuno. He's the Cornelius Vanderbilt Chair in History and Professor of African History at Vanderbilt. He'll give us a brief review of the history of Sub-Saharan Africa. Dr. Ochuno, please. Come to the microphone.
Welcome, everyone. So my name is Moses Ochuno, as he said, and I'm delighted to be part of this event, partly because this celebrates me as well. I'm part of this community. I'm an immigrant from Nigeria, and I can't wait to hear what my fellow Sub-Saharan African immigrants have to say about their experiences, because I've got my own experiences as well. Can we have the slides, please, up? Just wanted to. So my job this evening is to give a brief historical overview of Sub-Saharan Africa. Can we have the next slide, please? Yes. Go back. Yes. So let's start from this one over here. So the region that we're talking about is the one in green. So the other part is going to be North Africa. And what separates North Africa from Sub-Saharan Africa is the Sahara Desert, okay? So the part in green is what we're here to celebrate, the people from that part, how they made it here to Middle Tennessee. Next slide, please. Okay. So what is it that tie all of us together? What is it that connects us? It's not just because we're black, so it's beyond color. It's the fact that we have had what I call Pan-African religious experiences, meaning that we are shaped by multiple religious traditions. If you go to Sub-Saharan Africa, you find a phenomenon that a prominent but now late professor of African Studies, Ali Mazrui, who was originally from Kenya. He taught at Buffalo for many years, but what does he mean by that? It means that if you come from many parts of Sub-Saharan, being shaped, you've been socialized into three different religious, directly or indirectly: traditional African religion, Christianity, and Islam. So in many ways, we are religious cosmopolitans. The people from Sub-Saharan Africa, they tend to be, even though they profess one religion, they tend to be conversant in the idioms and the language of multiple religions.
Why is OBS not changing? Like OBS isn't doing anything.
Add a new source. Video.
Not only that, when I would travel with my family to the village, we would also see people who worshipped in a traditional way, who went to the shrine and so on and so forth. So that's one of the things that connects all of the people that you see here. That, you know, unlike Americans, that often are socialized into one tradition and they are lost when you introduce them to another. People from Sub-Saharan Africa have very ecumenical religious sensibilities. They are very much at home when it comes to all these religious experiences. Next slide, please. So what do they have in common? One of the things also that connect all of these people from Sub-Saharan Africa, it's a culture of what I call communalism, a culture of sharing and, yes, thank you. A culture of sharing and recognizing the connection that people have. It's also recognizing the importance of community, that we can't survive and thrive on our own as individuals, that we need people around us. You must have heard the saying, it takes a village. That saying is an African saying. So it speaks to the essence of community and communalism. Communalism meaning, if you go to different parts of Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Southern Africa, it doesn't matter. There is this fundamental value that you see. You see it in different manifestations and iterations, but it boils down to one thing. We look after one another. We share what we have. And you see in all these places that individual pursuits, excessive individual pursuits are frowned upon. The idea of going it yourself, going about things yourself, to thrive on your own, to promote yourself, to achieve personal success without carrying people along, that's often frowned upon. So communalism, but also the importance of community. We are in this together. We sink or we thrive together. Right? Next slide, please. What about values? What values do all of us share as part of people from Sub-Saharan Africa? Well, one of those values is called Ubuntu values, right? It's a common value wherever you go in Sub-Saharan Africa. You see it expressed in proverbs, you see it expressed in poems, in songs, all over Africa. And what does it mean? It means that I am connected to you, you are connected to me. My existence is coterminous or coextensive with your existence. We are all connected. I am because you are. And the essence of it comes from a South African Nguni saying, and it basically means we are all connected in one way or another. And on our own, we can't succeed, we can't thrive, so we need each other. So Ubuntu value is something that whether it's South Sudan, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Tanzania, whether it's Nigeria or Ghana, you find different expressions of this value among Sub-Saharan Africans. What about the experiences that connect all of these people on this stage? Well, in many of these countries that all of us come from, experienced the slave trade, different kinds of slave trade, the Trans-Saharan slave trade, the Indian Ocean slave trade, and the Atlantic slave trade. Many of these countries were drawn into this slave trade, and their ancestors, all our ancestors, were somehow victimized by this trade in some shape or form. Another experience is colonialism, right, that we all share. All of these countries, all of our countries were at one time or another colonized by various European countries, Britain, Portugal, Italy, even Spain, France, and so on and so forth. So that colonial experience is part of what shaped our countries, is part of what shaped our cultures, as brutal and as violent as it was. So we carried some of it, we carry that scar with us wherever we go. So all of the people that you see here on this stage come from countries that were colonized, that had a colonial experience. Okay, next slide, please. What about differences? Obviously, there are differences also within Sub-Saharan Africa. In spite of these commonalities, there are differences of culture, of religion, like I talked about. People worship differently, but also respect their different traditions. But of course, they have different cultures in terms of music, dances, rituals, coming of age ceremonies, and so on and so forth. You find, and that's what makes Sub-Saharan Africa such a wonderful place, because you have this unity in diversity. You have these diverse cultures and religions that in places they encounter one another, they blend together in some places, but in some other places they exist in this respectful and beautiful and wondrous diversity. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Another difference you might see is the ways in which, after independence, many African countries became independent in the 1960s, some of them later on, but most of them in the 60s. So after independence, many of these countries went in different directions and had different political experiences. In some countries, they had one-man rule, they had dictators. Some countries went through military coups more than others. And some countries have been remarkably stable. Some countries, other countries were destabilized and remained very shaky, politically unstable. I'll give an example. My brother here is from Ghana. Ghana has enjoyed a remarkable period of political stability and democratic transitions. So it's often held up as one of the political success stories. But in other countries, that has not been the history. So that's another difference. What about patterns of conflict? In some of these countries, after independence, many of them fell into civil war. Many of them were racked by religious crisis, religious conflict, some of them, but also most of them political conflict over succession. Many of them, when they experienced coups, the coups led to wars and so on and so forth. So there have been all kinds of conflict, civil conflict, religious conflict, but also even gendered conflicts. We've had all kinds of conflicts and all kinds of violent conflicts on the continent. And depending on which country you go to, you find varieties of some of these conflicts as well. And our experiences, we all have been shaped by some of these conflicts and some of these political realities as well. Next slide, please. All right. So that brings us to us, the migrants who have contributed to this country and to Middle Tennessee. We stand on the shoulder, all of us here stand on the shoulders of some of these early African migrants to the United States. I have up there Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of independent Ghana. Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria, and Jomo Kenyatta was the first president of Kenya. What do all of these people have in common? They were the foremost and the most prominent nationalists from their various countries, and they fought for the independence of their countries. They fought against colonialism, and at independence led their country. What other thing do they have in common? They all came to the United States very early on, 1920s, 1930s, some of them 1940s, to study. And where did they go? Most of them went to HBCUs. Why did they go to HBCUs? Well, let me say, Kwame Nkrumah and Nnamdi Azikiwe ended up at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. It's a prominent HBCUs. Some of them came to Fisk, by the way, as well, right? So why did they go to HBCUs? In the early 20th centuries, they had these Pan-African congresses, right? In places like Paris, in places like London, and all of these people attended those conferences. It drew participants from all over the Black world, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from the United States. African Americans attended, and people like Paul Robeson, W.E.B. Du Bois, they're all prominent African American activists and intellectuals attended these conferences. And when they attended these conferences, they interacted with all of these African activists and anti-national, anti-colonial nationalists. And when they talk to them, they say, well, you're trying to get a master's degree, why don't you come to Lincoln University? Why don't you come to Fisk University? That's how they introduced them to what I call the HBCU circuit. That's how all of these people ended up attending these HBCUs. And partly because if they had gone to other schools that were not HBCUs in the 30s and 20s, well, we all know what would have happened to them. So that's another story for another day. So many of them ended up at Fisk, as I said. Next slide, please. Okay? So now, fast forward to the 1980s. It's a lot of history, so I'm trying to condense it. So fast forward. Fast forward to the 1980s. So you had the first generation of migrants, right? The pioneers who opened the door, who opened the way for all of us here. And then, when you get to the 80s, you have a lot of these Sub-Saharan African countries experiencing economic distress and turmoil. There was a big collapse, economic collapse that happened all over Africa in the 1980s, arising from the collapse of commodity prices. Many of these economies in Sub-Saharan Africa depend on commodity exports, natural resource exports. And the prices of these exports, because of the global recession in the 1980s, fell dramatically. And it threw a lot of these countries into economic turmoil. To escape this economic distress, a lot of Africans left the shores of Africa to come to the United States, to go to Britain, to go to Australia, to migrate to Canada, and those kinds of places. So the push factors were the economic crisis. These economic migrants came from Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, Kenyans, and so on and so forth. I don't think I was part of that wave. I'm not that old, okay? I'm not that old, but I know those who were part of that wave. Okay, so next slide. All right, so that brings us to the refugee and asylum pipeline. Unfortunately, in the 1990s and in the 2000s, many countries in Sub-Saharan Africa experienced civil wars. You had the Sudan civil wars that started from the 1970s, and it would taper off, and then it would reignite, and it just kept going for so long. You had the Congo DRC civil war that drew in a lot of countries that was so destructive and devastating for the country. And then, of course, you had the Somali civil war as well. And a lot of the refugees, a lot of the displaced people from these wars ended up in the refugee and asylum pipeline, and eventually were resettled in the United States, found their way. It's a long process. You have to get registered. You have to go through all kinds of vetting before eventually getting resettled. Last slide. So the question is, why Middle Tennessee? Why did many of them end up here? Why did they choose Middle Tennessee? Well, number one, I think, would be the weather. I myself, when I came to the United States, I went to school in Michigan. I enrolled in graduate studies in Michigan. I got my PhD there, but I couldn't wait to get out of there. I could not wait. When I got a job at Vanderbilt, and the first question I asked was, how's the weather? And they said, it's much warmer here. And I said, I accept the job. I just accepted it right away. Okay, so the weather is a draw. The weather definitely is an attraction. What about existing pipelines? Already, there were people who had already settled here, members of different communities, Nigerian communities, Ethiopian communities, Sudanese communities, who would help people, who would help new migrants resettle, who would help them find things and help them get to places and just basically get on with their lives. So that's another attraction. Affordability. Well, maybe this no longer applies, but it used to be the case. It used to be the case that this was a draw, that Nashville was affordable, and Middle Tennessee in general used to be affordable. Even when I moved here 21 years ago, Middle Tennessee was a bit still affordable. Maybe that no longer applies. And then finally, you have I would say, the warm, receptive, welcoming influence of the Black Nashville community. The African-American community in Middle Tennessee has gone above and beyond to welcome African immigrants and to give them a home. I myself am a beneficiary of it, and to educate them on the history of Middle Tennessee and the Black presence in this city and the contribution of Black people to this city, and have provided resources, concrete, tangible resources to help Sub-Saharan African migrants settle and thrive in Middle Tennessee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moses. That was really informative. It's a great bridge to the next speaker. Now we'll have Dr. Gatluk Thak, President and CEO of the Nashville International Center for Empowerment, called NICE, will offer his perspective of the Sub-Saharan Africa and its country states' timeline of immigration here to Nashville and the effect of this community's immigration into Nashville and also into Middle Tennessee. Dr. Thak.
Good evening. All right, well, what a wonderful crowd. Dr. Churchwell, Dr. Moses, the panel, I wanted to welcome and thank each and every one of you. Yes, my name is Gatluk Thak. I go with Gat here in Nashville. It is a pleasure to be here. Wow. Public library in Nashville and the grounds that Nashville has had. Wonderful, and wonderful people that are here. Well, I came here as a refugee. I was a refugee from South Sudan. I also was a child soldier at the time. And one of the child soldiers here. I love Nashville, but I did not come directly to Nashville. And you heard from Dr. Moses, many of us who happen to be in Nashville were not directly coming to Nashville. Some of us came here because we wanted to come here and join the family. Some of us came here because we have heard of how Nashville is, the beauties of Nashville people, the weather, and the food too, in addition to music, right? We're in the music city, right? Some of those were the reasons for many of us to come to Nashville. I remember coming here to America from a refugees camp in Kenya. I was one of the considered to be an orphan, but an adult orphan, because I had a young brother with me at the time. We were told to go to California until we got to New York. Then things changed. Things changed. We were told to go to a place called South Dakota. And it was winter. And we got there almost evening time. It was snowing and had been snowing. That was an experience that you would never like to have, especially if you first came to the United States. When we got there, we didn't know what to do. Well, though we had wonderful family, even though that we did not speak any word in English, my brother and I, we were welcome, placed to our home, and we were told what to do without actually understanding what they were trying to tell us. But early in the morning, in the middle of the night, when we got into the house, it was warm. In the middle of the night, it got hot. We didn't know what happened. It was really, really burning us, and it was only two of us. Then we ended up opening the door to have the cold air coming in. You can imagine that, right? And we were scared because we didn't want it to leave the door like that. We didn't know who actually can come in and harm us. So you can know now that we cannot stay in South Dakota for long, right? Those were some of the reasons. When we heard that Nashville is different because of South Sudanese who have come here, we were informed by our friends, then we came to Nashville. At that time, Nashville was really different. It was kind of looking not better than Nairobi, where we okay? I was just like, okay, we were in East Nashville. Now I got a job at an Upland Hotel. I had to pass from East Nashville to downtown Nashville through a bus. Get another bus to Maplewood Border Road and another bus to Upland Hotel, because there was no connection line. And then at night, the Upland bus will bring me back from the Upland to Maplewood Border Road, and guess what? No bus will take me to East Nashville after midnight. And I have to walk on foot through 24. Can you imagine that? Yeah, I did. So that was not only me. There was also a lot of others, Sub-Saharan African, like my friend just talked about earlier. But we came here for the opportunity, an opportunity that we did not have. Because most of those countries, with the exception of Ghana, for example, had some issues. They had a lot of civil uprising. There was civil war in many of those countries. Somalia is one example, Sudan, Ethiopia, and the list is long. Some of those kids, including myself, did not grow up in Sudan or in any of those countries. We grew up in a refugees camp. A refugees camp where you didn't have an opportunity for anything else. You can get food, maybe a small education for some of those who are lucky, and that's it. you don't have the future. There was no future for us. So when we heard there is a chance to go to another country where you can reveal your life, we were so happy and cannot wait. Then we came to this country, for majority of us. Of course, there are people who came for education purposes that had a visa to come to school here, the F1 visa, and there may be also people who came because of a kind of arranged marriage or for family unification, and there might be also people who might have come here for the tourist visa. But most of those who came like I were, they were humble, didn't have an opportunity. We only carried a small IOM bag with nothing in it, only the paperwork. You only have the shirt and the jacket, or maybe if you have a pair of shoes, then you can have another one. Otherwise, there's nothing else. Leave alone the wallet. There was not even a wallet at the time. No, not even an ID for most of us. But we also had hope that we would be going somewhere where we would be revealing our life. And that's what we did. When we came here, we worked more than one job, 2 jobs, some cases, 2.5 jobs, while we were still going to school and learning English and getting a little bit educated. And one of my brother here that I really knew was an amazing young man. We were in TSU together, and then he exceeded to go to MTSU. At the time, I also went to MTSU, and then now he's doing amazing work here. And there's a number of us who not only just build their life and their community, but they're also becoming a contributor to this great nation. We create jobs, businesses, we join military. Some of the kids I do. Some of us even went to politics. Zafra is representing us at the council at large in Nashville. Some of the Ghana Bari, the list is long. They're providing social services, work, and changing life. There's also a bridge between this country to other countries, the country in which we are representing. Even though the politics have changed, we're still the way for our connection and contribute in that aspect. So the refugees and the immigrant, and of course others who are called New American, have contributed significantly to life here in Nashville. But it has never been easy. Adjustment to a new culture, to new life, to new language, to new system, it's never always been easy. But we overcame them. And those who came after us, they were told what they can do to be better. This is where the organization I am in came about. I was the founder of NICE, Nashville International Center for Empowerment, and one of the resettlement agencies in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a time that I graduated from college, got a job with a Dell computer, was helping some group, including Somalia communities at the Somalia Center. But I decided to marry, after I graduated from college, wanted to marry someone. My family told me I should be married. I was like, I cannot find anybody to marry because when I was going to school, I was working 2 jobs, didn't socialize for almost 6 years. I didn't know anybody else. I cannot go on the street and ask somebody, can I marry you? I didn't want to do that. But I remember when I was coming from military, there was a little girl in the camp that at one point I told her, do not marry to anybody else. Wait for me, when I come back, I'm going to marry you. And when I came back, I almost even forgot. But when that time come, I connect with my family and they told me about her. All you know is me going back there and got her and brought her here to America. And when I brought her to America, I started to teach her in my own apartment, English as a second language. And then there, the community, a lot of women came to my own house. They needed services. And I was like, wow, I cannot turn people away. I have to teach them. And that was the beginning of Nashville International Center for Empowerment. I had to go and rent a place, and then all you know is trying to put it together to be an organization. Now we're serving refugees and immigrants from more than, I would say, 80 different nationalities. We're one of the largest resettlement agencies in the state, even though now, with what is happening, we've been challenged. We've been challenged because The US RAP lost the funding from the new administration. The US aid has been cut for refugee services overseas. And for those of you who do not know anything about US aid is how the United States gives support funding to the all need outside the United States. And it is actually the power of US. For those of you who don't know this, the power of the United States that it has on the planet today is because of the support services that it has for people in need. And then people collaborate with them, understand them, support them, and help them. But if that services is no longer there, what next? Nobody will collaborate, nobody will help the United States, and nobody will look at the United States as a leading institution. And we will be in trouble, all of us. So USAID is tied to the resettlement services that we have. Some of the refugees that we resettle, some of the people who were supposed to be coming on the 20th of January, on the 19th of January, they were stopped on their transit to the United States. On their transit, were returned back to where they came from. Those who arrived here and promised to be resettled and be giving their funding was cut. Organizations like NICE and others had to struggle to try to figure out how to help these people. It was difficult. Last 3 months, 4 months was difficult, continues to be difficult. But we are so thankful for the outpour of support that we receive in the community. Some of you have done your best. Some of you became a mentor. Some of you volunteer. Some of you contribute. Whatever small thing that you have done has changed life and has continued to serve life. But it's a work that all of us need to do. Because those who are here with us are our responsibility. And the world also is coming closer. We are all one. We should all support one another. With that, I wanted to thank each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
What a truly elegant man doing spectacular work, and all we can do to help you, we will do so. Now we're moving into the community leaders part of the program, and we'll hear some great stories of people who are from families are from Sub-Saharan Africa. We will hear from Emmanuel Courtray. He's a research and development manager for Consumer Products Partners. We will hear from James Kwal Mukak. James is an artist and activist. His artwork's on the stage. We'll call you in a minute here, James. There you go. Raise your hand. There you go. That's James. We will hear from Catherine Bozo, who's a healthcare worker here in Middle Tennessee. We'll hear from my buddy Henry Okafor, who's not with us, but we're going to watch his video as he talks about his time getting here and what he has been able to achieve. He's Associate Professor of Medicine and Cardiology at Vandy. We'll hear from Eric Bashanda, who's Associate Manager of NICE. Eric is here. We'll hear from Mohammed Farouk, whose office is right next to mine. He's an adult congenital heart disease fellow at Vanderbilt. I'm so proud of him. He obtained his medical degree from Dow University of Health Sciences in Pakistan, and then completed his internal medicine residency, I have to brag on him, residency at the University of Central Florida, and then did a cardiology fellowship at the University of Texas Medical Branch, and then has just joined Vanderbilt in his training in adult cardiology. So we're really excited to have him here. And last we have Magut, who's a business consultant, who will share his journey too. So we will now start with the stories. We'll start with Emmanuel. Please come up and share your story, Emmanuel. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. Thank you, Professor Churchwell, and the organizers of this program, and the panel. I'm very glad to be here. And my name is Emmanuel Courtray, and I'm originally from Ghana. I was born in Accra, and from what Professor Ochonu mentioned, I grew up just from a few miles from where Dr. Du Bois Dr. Du Bois Center. And that also played a role in my story, even in coming to Fisk. So I'm currently married to my wonderful wife who is right here, and I have 2 kids. One of them is already out of the house, and my youngest daughter who is graduating in a few weeks from Vanderbilt as well. I say that because of Nashville. I have a family in Nashville. I've tried to move out of Nashville several times, but I always come back because it's a great place to be, very welcoming, a great place to welcome me, to have a family, and that's why I'm very proud of my family, how they turn out. I moved to Nashville immediately after I graduated from college in the late 1997. I'm not that old. 1997. And then started Fisk in 1998. And just like I said, I moved here specifically because I've heard about Fisk. I grew up just walking in distance from Dr. Du Bois Center, and I've heard about it. And I also already had a couple of, my older siblings living here, and I've heard so much about here, and I've heard about the community, so I wanted to be here, and I wanted to come here. And I've heard about the stories of what Professor Choni talked about. But when I got here, I thought, okay, there's community here, there's family here, was going to be easy, but it wasn't. And I realized that being a foreign student in Nashville without a full scholarship is not as easy as you thought. So I came here, I started school, and I realized that things were not going smoothly. And I nearly packed my things and went home. But I stayed, thanks to, I always want to mention a name, Dr. Priscilla Evans, the head of Fisk department then, had to get me a full tuition scholarship. So I went to Fisk, I went to graduate school in Fisk. And I had to work, like Doc said, jobs, I don't want to mention how many, to make up the rest of the boarding and everything else. So we've all been through those things. But thanks that we have a community here that helped me. So I was able to go through, and also my wife joined me a year after. And that also changed my mind from going back, because you had a backbone then, so I stayed. I've always tempted, because what you hear about is not what you always see when you get on ground. So I thought I was just coming for graduate school, but it wasn't that easy. But I stayed, and I'm proud that I stayed. I've moved out, come back, and I still love Nashville. And I'm still here, and I don't intend to leave. I don't have time to tell you a lot of the stories of the challenge that I've went through, but I just want to move on to, that's a main challenge of trying to go to school and also have a family and also work and complete school, because sometimes people stop in between. So that was one of my main challenges that I just want to talk about. I want to move to the next thing. And also being, apart from what I do professionally, I'm also an assistant pastor of a great church called the Redeemed Christian Church of God Agape House, and that's placed into the next thing I want to talk about. When my firstborn started college, I started going to visit him on college campuses. On the college campus and trying to visit him, we would go to other colleges. I realized that there were a lot of, when I came here, there were foreign students, but not a lot. But I realized that now there's a lot of foreign students on the campuses around here. And I realized that the challenges that I faced or went through hadn't changed. Although they were the same, but there were opportunities because the community has grown. When I came here, there was a very small Ghanaian community, but now it's big. Recently, a friend of mine was telling me, can I list the number of churches of Africa? And I couldn't even count. I got to 20 and I stopped. So that, I said to myself that, okay, then I'm going to help as many that I come into contact with to be able to not to go through the same thing that I went through. And luckily, the church that I go to, Redeemed Christian Church of God, we started what we call the campus college church. And we just want to plant campus fellowship in the various campuses just to create a community so that those foreign students who come around can also have a community, and so that they will learn from others and have that network to be able to lessen those burdens. And that's what we have been doing, and it's been very successful. And there's a whole lot of stories success stories. And also the next thing that we want to do, and personal, that's a very personal passion of mine, is not only to limit to the church setting, which everybody may not be comfortable with, but to take it to the Ghanaian community, the other communities, so that we carry it on. Because the challenges that we're going to talk about, the community here is growing. Challenges have not changed, but the community has grown, so the resources have grown. But those who come will never know unless there are people who tell them this is the way. So this is one of the things that we plan and we aspire to do. As there are challenges, I believe you hear a lot. I had mine. I nearly ran away, but I stayed. Thank you so much for listening to me.
You're hearing some common themes, right? Family, opportunity, America, a beacon of liberty and freedom and opportunity. We must sustain that, don't we? We must continue to work to sustain that concept, that idea. Our next speaker is James Makuak. James is South Sudan. He is an artist. You got your microphone? Your mic? James is an artist. He's going to talk about his art and his story of coming to Nashville and from Sudan.
Good evening. It's a lot of sound. My name is Mokwach, James from South Sudan. I'm one of the lost boys of Sudan. I came to Tennessee 2001 with a large group, big group. I came here to Tennessee 150 lost boys of Sudan. But all of us in the United States, 3,600. So I left Sudan in 1987 when I was 11 years old, when the enemy came and attacked our villages. I walked from South Sudan with some lost boy. He started from age 5 to 11. We walked from South Sudan to Ethiopia. It took us like about 2 months because we were kids. We went to Ethiopia. We lived there for almost 4 years. And then the war started again. We left Ethiopia. Between Sudan and Ethiopia, there's a river over there called Gilo. The enemy came and caught us at Mabang, and then 2,000 got shot within 30 minutes. But we have no choice. We have to jump in the water, and my boy got shot. So we walked from there to Kenya. We walked from Ethiopia to Kenya for 6 months in the jungle. And 6 months we lost my boy too. And then we went to Kenya 2000, in 1992. I lived in Kenya in 9 years, and then I came here to United States 2001. So I'm gonna talk about the painting over here. We had done a minute, only 5 minutes or 6. So when I came here to Nashville, Tennessee, I found there's country music, and I love country music. I'm a fan of country music, so I don't go away. I just live here. I love it. So when I painted, I put a country music on my side, and I listen and do some of my painting. And I'm gonna start with the painting over there. You can see it over there. That painting was a big tree we call White House. That's why you see a sign of White House. It's the time I was in Kenya. I lived there for 9 years, and I have to go to school. There's nothing, no food. They get little food for 7 days. We try to divide it for 7 days. There's no way. So we have to eat like 3 days, and the rest of the day, nothing to eat. So I have to go to school and learn English and Swahili and other subjects. So by the time some of my friends, they came to under big tree, and then we discussed about our future life. What's gonna be our life tomorrow? We just gonna end up like this. And then sometime I told them, hey, you know what? Suffering is a sign of hope. And you're not gonna be suffered to the end. There's something, hope will come later. And then the journalists came from United Nations with the car. You see the small car over there. I can show you. You can see the carrier, United Nations, they came and interviewed us and we told our story. And then they took our report to Washington, D.C. That was Bill Clinton was the president that time, 1998. And then they approved for us to come here to the United States only, the lost of Sudan. So when we came here, so we can go to school and get a job and support ourselves. So this is how we came here. And we call this big tree White House. That's why you see White House here. And the other painting is life in Sudan. When I was a young boy, I have to go and look after the cattle. Unfortunately, I was 11 when I left Sudan. And that job is dangerous too. You can see that guy have a gun and a spear. Sometimes other people come, they want to try to kill, to steal the animal, and they can kill you before they get the animal. You have to fight too. So I think that's it. And I want to thank you, Dr. Churchwell, for this program. It's the first time for me, and I love to come back next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Spectacular. Thank you, James. Wow. Boy, talk about challenges you face in your life. How about that? Boy. James's work is being sponsored by the Engine for Art and Democracy at Vanderbilt University. It's one of our partners in this program, if you look at our program's front cover. That program was started by Maria Magdalena Campos Pons, a recent MacArthur Fellow awardee, a Genius Awardee last year. One of our program coordinators, Simon Tatum, is here, who is a sponsor also of James, and may have, Simon, have a few remarks about James's work and also the EADJ and its role.
Thank you, Dr. Churchwell. And now, I'll keep this brief, but as Dr. Churchwell said, I am one of the team members for the Engine for Art, Democracy, and Justice Research Initiative on Vanderbilt campus, started by Professor Campos Pons. We're a platform for academic and creative approaches for new knowledge. And the ways that we do that are a couple of the ways that we do that are through curated discussions and also exhibitions that we do every academic year with the university. This academic year, the sort of theme for our programming that was curated by Grace Aniza Ali was Somewhere We Are Human. And we wanted to focus on discussions and stories about migration and its effect on the development of different cultures here in Nashville. And one of the things that we really wanted to do and give an opportunity for during this academic year was to give a solo show to an artist who has a really inspiring migration story and has been working very dedicatedly in Nashville for many years. And we were really lucky to meet James McQuack on stage. And I wanted to say, as the member of the team who's here tonight, that we all have been so honored to work with James and really grateful that he trusted us with his work. We put on a solo show for him last year, and he's continued to be part of discussions that we've been having at the university and at our art lab on West End Avenue. And I just wanted to point out with his works as well, James is really a painter that focuses on landscape, and there's people who are sort of intertwined within his stories. He talks about his travels from one geography to the other that brought him here, and he reflects on his background, the life before, and he thinks about his time now in Nashville. And he has a solo show, another solo show coming up this June at Casa Afwan over on Nolensville Pike. And we encourage you all to continue following James' work and to see that exhibition when it opens. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. That's great. Our next speaker is Catherine Bozo. She's a healthcare worker here in Nashville, and we thought we definitely needed to have a female member of the community, of the community leaders, but more importantly, someone who dressed appropriately, please, and colorfully, and is bringing her spring attire to us. Catherine, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so thankful to be here today. And this is my first time to attend this. So my name is Catherine Bozo. I was born in Zimbabwe and moved to the USA in December 1997. I've lived in Nashville for 28 years. I work for the US government in healthcare at the VA hospital in Murfreesboro. I'm a homeowner and live here with my daughter and granddaughter. My granddaughter is a graduate. My daughter is a graduate at MTSU and works in healthcare. My granddaughter just graduated from high school this year and will be going to community college this fall. When I first got here in 1999, there were very few immigrants, mostly from West Africa. But over the years, the immigrant community has grown so much. In the 90s and early 2000s, we saw refugees from Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi, Sudan, South Sudan, just to name a few. There were few Zimbabweans as well. But the Zimbabwean population and the Southern African population has grown. Most of the Zimbabweans who were young and in college when I first got here are now grown men and women with families of their own. They have gone to school here and consider Nashville their home. There are many Zimbabwean-owned, African-owned businesses and churches here in Metro Nashville area. I'm happy to see that we as immigrants have managed to settle and be successful in our new home here in Nashville. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Next, we'll hear from Henry Okafor. Henry could not be with us tonight, so he created a video. We have a clip of that we will show now.
Good evening. My name is Henry Okafor, a cardiologist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Thank you for the opportunity to share the story of my journey to Middle Tennessee. Special thank you to Dr. André Churchwell, who invited me to be a part of this panel. I apologize that I could not be there in person. I'm originally from Nigeria, where I graduated from medical school and later immigrated to the United States. I moved from Texas to Middle Tennessee a little over 25 years ago when I marched to the internal medicine program at Meharry Medical College. I did not know anyone or know anything about Middle Tennessee at the time, but I was pleasantly surprised to arrive at Meharry Medical College and to find it a mini United Nations, as literally every part of the globe was well represented. I enjoyed my time and the training there, and on completing that was recruited to stay on faculty, which I did briefly before I was accepted to the Vanderbilt University Medical Center General Cardiology Fellowship Training Program. I subsequently went on to pursue a subspecialty fellowship in clinical cardiac electrophysiology. On completing my postgraduate trainings, I was recruited back to Meharry Medical College to assist in building the cardiology program. I was opportune to serve there in various capacities, including as Chief of Cardiology for both Meharry Medical College and Nashville General Hospital, as well as director of the Vanderbilt Mehari Cardiology Program. I have since transitioned back to Vanderbilt University Medical Center as cardiology faculty, but maintain an adjunct appointment at Mehari Medical College as well. Since my arrival to Middle Tennessee, the city has grown in leaps and bounds, and the population is even more diversified. The people of Sub-Saharan Africa are found contributing positively to every facet of Middle Tennessee life. And there are more African grocery stores and restaurants now compared to when I first arrived here. That's a good thing. My beautiful wife of over 30 years and our son who was born here and myself are proud to call Nashville home, and we remain committed to the growth and vibrancy of Nashville. Thank you for this opportunity.
Next slide, please, too. We have to thank Henry for that. I'll share that his words were very, very well received. Next speaker is Eric Bashanda. He's Associate Manager at NICE. Eric, please come and share your story, too.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew, and thank you, everyone, for allowing me to share my story with you. My name is Eric Bishonda, and I'm from Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. I was forced to move from my country. That was in 2004, and I lived in Uganda for almost 10 years. The process took me 10 years. I lived in refugee camps for me to come to US. I first lived in Virginia, Richmond. When I came to US, I only had two things. I had a IM bag and I had hope. After my first month in Virginia, it snowed. That was my first experience, something I've never seen in my country, and I decided to move to Nashville. I loved Nashville. It was warm. Weather was nice to me. Like any refugees, it was hard for me to live, to start life in a new country, in a new place, in a way I don't know anyone. Some of the challenges, if I would mention, was displacement trauma. There was social disconnection. There was challenge related to healthcare systems, education systems. I couldn't navigate anything. I felt myself in a lone world without anyone. But because I had hope, I didn't allow the challenges to hold me back. I had to work hard. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. I wanted to change my life. I'm so grateful now. After working 2 jobs, I needed somewhere I would call home, my place. And I was able to qualify for a house. I own a house now. And I wanted to work in an environment where I would give back to the community of the same experience I went through. Now, as I speak, I'm a manager social services manager at NICE. You will find me every day from Monday to Friday, from 8 a.m. to 5, trying to serve the community, trying to help, trying to give back. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Dr. Thack wanted me to know that my title that I had connected to Eric was incorrect. He's been moved up to manager. So there you go. Thanks for the correction there, Eric. There you go. Our next speaker is Mohammed Farouk. He's an adult congenital heart disease fellow at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
Good evening, everyone. I'm short, so I have to bring it down. All right, it is so exciting to be here, and thanks to Dr. Churchwell for arranging this amazing program, and thanks to Rebecca and the Nashville Public Library for hosting this program, graciously. And thanks to our panelists, and obviously, special thanks to our audience, and thanks for coming, everyone. So before I tell you my own journey to Nashville, let me tell you how I met with Dr. Churchwell. It was right after I joined Vanderbilt. I think it was like 2 months. His office and mine are across to each other, and he stopped me in the hallway. And then after a brief chat, he told me about this program, and he said, I would like you to be part of this program. Can you come, please? I said yes, but he had one condition, and that condition was I have to wear a suit, not scraps. He did not stop there. He continued and said, if you don't have one, I will get one for you. So Andre, I'm still actually wearing that suit. Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Mohammed Farouk. I am Somali. I'm Ethiopian. Let me just say I'm a proud East African, so I represent many countries tonight. I grew up in a small city in east part of Ethiopia, where there wasn't electricity in that city, no water. The only water source there was to go and get fed from the wells. That's where I stayed until I finished grade 8. Then I moved to a bigger city, Jijiga, where I completed college, and then eventually I was admitted to a medical school in Ethiopia. I think before I was like my halfway first semester of first year, I saw an advertisement and a scholarship to study abroad in medicine or engineering, and I was like, let me try and see if I get medical school, then I will go. If not, I will continue medical school in Ethiopia. Unfortunately, I was accepted a fully funded scholarship medical school in Pakistan. I left Ethiopia in 2010 in November and landed in Pakistan. And then next day, I went to the medical school to register. But when I got there, I was told I have to go to Islamabad, which is the capital city of Pakistan, and change all my documents since I did not go high school or college in Pakistan. I had only $300 in my pocket at that time. And one interesting thing is in Ethiopia, all the universities is mainly owned by the government, and the government funds everything. So when you join a university, first day, you will get a free meal card, you will get housing, you will get even a mattress and pillow. All you have to do, you have to study. So I was thinking all the universities in the world are like that. So when I got there, I will have my dormitory, I will have everything. But the reality was different. So I booked a flight. I called one of my friends who was a senior, who was studying in Lahore, which is close to Islamabad. And he asked me to come to him so that he can take me to Lahore to change my document. I booked a flight with $100. I got there. I lost the other 100. And now I have to go to Islamabad, change my document, come back to Pakistan, pay a registration fee. I have to get an apartment and housing, and then after that, I can send the receipts to my sponsor. So that day I stayed. If I had enough money to book a flight back to Ethiopia, I would have done. But I haven't had money, and that's why I stayed longer. And fortunately, everything went through. I finished medical school in Pakistan, and then when I was midway, I learned that there's an opportunity in the United States. If I take a United States medical licensing examination, I can come to the United States and I can do my residency training and further training. So I took all the exams required, 2 out of the 3 exams required. But for the last exam, I have to come to the United States. You cannot take anywhere else. I landed in Chicago late in 2016, when the weather is the worst. I think everyone, something common we share as a Sub-Saharan Africa is the weather. So I took the exam. Then I qualified to apply a residency program, which is the training you do after medical school. You submit your application from July to September, and the interviews happen from October to January. And back then, there wasn't Zoom. You have to travel in each interview. So I remember our plane, we're going to Detroit. It couldn't land because of snow. After 2 days I was in DC, the traffic, the snow, the weather, everything was horrible. After 5 days, I was in New York. It's even worse. That is when I decided college is not for me. So when it came to rank all the programs, I have to rank all the college state programs at the bottom, because not matching was not an option. I cannot afford not to match, but still I wanted, I have to rank all the, programs that have a states that have a warm weather on the top. That was my priority number 1, not even the school. So I ended up in Florida, thankfully. That's where I did 3 years of residency. And then I did my cardiology fellowship in Texas. And finally, I joined at Vanderbilt to do an adult congenital heart disease. So as you can see that I have been, trying to avoid cold states. So Nashville is a special place. When I came here, I met people from different communities. For example, I met Ramla, who's a real estate developer. So there's a lot of, people from different states. I could have stopped this training and start making, anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, but I decided to do additional training, a congenital heart disease. The reason being is we have more than 3 million patients with congenital heart disease in North America, in Canada and US. And guess what? We have only less than 500 cardiologists who are specialized to give care to those patients. And that means each cardiologist should see at least 6,000 plus patients a year. So that is nearly impossible. So the reason what's driving me is I believe every human being deserves at least to get the care they deserve, or at least to be treated by someone who knows what you have, not someone who's guessing. And that is the reason I decided to let it go, everything else, and do additional training. So you can imagine people with congenital heart disease. It's kids who were born with heart defect, who underwent surgery maybe first day of life, first week, first month, first year, first few years, or they never underwent a surgery, but they need a close monitoring. So I became their cardiologist after age of 18. And those people, they deserve to get the best care from the best people. The reason I'm telling you about my history is it's not special. It's not you to know what I'm doing. But the reason is each and every one of you here have their own history to tell. Maybe history, maybe the way you get here is more difficult than the way I get here. It may be similar. I don't know, but I know that you have a special history to tell, and regardless of your profession, whether you are a janitor, a cleaner, a doctor, an engineer, a businessman, a businesswoman, you are the backbone of this country. You contribute. You contribute, and that is very important. And what makes this country special is it is a country of immigrants. It's a people like you who really built this country. So my message to you all is, don't let someone who came maybe a days before you to tell you that they are more American than you. They are not. That is the message I would like to leave with you tonight all. Thank you all.
Wow, great story. Thank you, Muhammad. Great story. And the suit's not bad either. That's great. We're going to end with Magut, who's a business consultant. He'll share his story. Please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Churchwell, for organizing this event. And thank you, everybody, for coming to listen to our stories. Thank you for everybody that has told their stories. I don't know if I can top all the stuff that they've said. Everybody has been amazing, and I've just been wowed by the stories. I was born in Kenya, and part of me, I grew up as part jungle boy, part cowboy, and also part somebody, regular kid that goes to school. So you can imagine, right? Somehow, you know, through my hard work, through patience, through sacrifice, and through luck, I ended up in Nashville. You know, what I think is, like, usually I think when I landed to Nashville, I started thinking, I am probably one of the few people that can skin a cow, that can milk a cow, and that can birth a cow. That's one of the few cowboys in Nashville. So I remember vividly my first day when I got to the airport, and there was these three guys that came to pick me up at the airport. And, you know, somehow they figured out that it was me that they were picking. It's probably that I was confused, and they were like, you know, he's the guy. So they came and said, you know, we're gonna pick you. We came to pick you. So I followed them, and we're driving, right? We're driving on I-40 over there by Adventure Center. Some of you may know if you have been here long enough. And so I'm looking at the city, and, you know, they're driving, and I'm thinking, okay, you know, of course, what I've been sold is, you know, this is the land of milk and honey. You know, so I'm expecting large things, like large structures, like huge buildings, huge trees, all the big things, you know. So then, like, I'm looking at the city, and we're like about to go past, and I'm like, where is the city? You know? And they said, this is it. So of course I don't want to be disappointing. I don't want to disappoint them. So I don't say anything. These are people that have come to pick me up. So they take me. We go to Belmont. That was my school. You know, that was the school that I was coming to go. So then, you know, I had the same experience with my friend over there. You know, I go there and I'm expecting, you know, this is night, and they walk me to my dormitory, and I'm expecting, you know, everything to be there. I came with my little suitcase, and they're like, make the bed. And so I'm like, make the bed? You know, I don't have any blankets, nothing, you know. And I'm standing there wondering what's going on. Like, I don't have any sheets. So they're sitting waiting for me to make the bed. I'm like, I don't have any sheets. I don't have any of those things. I thought those things were provided. It's the land of milk and honey. So anyway, you know, fast forward the next day. So I'm walking, you know, on campus going to my classes. And so then again, I got struck, you know. This time, you know, I'm looking at this school and there's not a lot of people walking. And so I'm like, where are the people? You know, and so they tell me, you know, like, this is, you know, this is it. Like, this is like, what do you mean? Like, where are the people? So, you know, for me, you know, I'm coming from a small village, you know, and I've been sold this story about America being large, you know, people live, you know, I'm wanting 20,000 people, you know, I want to turn up, you know, and it's like 5,000. So I'm like, I'm gonna quit. That's guaranteed. I'm gonna quit this school. Anyway, I didn't quit. You know, I stayed, and I'm glad I stayed. Double majored in accounting and information systems, graduated from Belmont, and I started being an accountant, you know. So again, this is somebody, like, I'm a jungle boy, you know, part jungle boy, part cowboy, and, you know, a little bit of school. So then I'm like suddenly in this like room, and I'm working like bean counter. So of course, eventually I snapped and I quit. I was like, I quit, you know. I didn't do music. I didn't play like a band or anything when I was quitting. I wanted to. I felt like I wanted to. So I quit, and I said, I'm gonna stay out of this. So I'm out. I'm out of this for probably close to 5 months. I'm like taking a sabbatical. You know, I'm blowing like my savings. And something hit me, you know, and I'm like, okay. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. You know, of course I wanted to do business and with all that. But while I was working as an accountant, one thing that I was, you know, like I really cherished is like, I have a son, and I really like 100% I'll go 100% on this kid, you know, raising him. So definitely I cherish family, right? That's my number one, you know, I'll do anything for this kid. So second, I said, you know, while I was working as an accountant, I'm putting in all these hours. I founded an initiative called Twende, which is helping Black and brown entrepreneurs to start businesses, you know, so giving back to the community. So that's the time I started like looking for jobs at other places that do impactful things. And that's how I ended up starting working for Nashville International Center for Empowerment, working with immigrants and refugees. Since then, I've moved on and I'm working with, partly consulting with nonprofits, and also working for a local charter school called LEAD, some of you may know, doing community engagement. One of the other things that Dr. Churchwell wanted me to tell you is, you know, a little bit about my name. Typically, when I tell people my name is Magut, you know, I tell Americans my name is Magut, they're like, what is your last name? And I say, that's my last name. And so then they look at me with side eye, like, weird. And I look at them side eye too. And then so they're like, really, like, what's your first name? So they realize, like, yo, what are you doing? So then, you know, I tell them, you know, my first name is Kip Koske. But the reason why I call myself my last name is, we have this process where we go through. And in my traditions, a couple of tribes in my country, they go through this. And, you know, when you are 14 to 15 years old, we go through the tradition of moving from being a boy to being a man. And during that time, you go to the forest for about 1 to 2 months in the jungle. That's why I'm part jungle boy. And so during that time, after you've transitioned from being a boy to being a man, you get a name, you get given a name. Magut was mine, right? And that is derived from my father's first name. That's why I proudly call myself by my last name. Thank you.
Can we give all the historians and community leaders a hand of applause here, please? Thank you. Great stories, phenomenal stories. I mentioned there are themes here, right? And before I close, let's just touch on some of those. People coming alone, being alone, no credentials, no resources when they land here. Sounds like what happened way back when America was being formed or when they brought enslaved Africans here. So how do you succeed? Well, you have to have fundamentally the concept that I try to tell my students all the time, that no one owns your dreams and aspirations but you, and therefore they can't take them from you. So whatever you have to do to achieve those aspirations and those dreams to make them a reality, you will do, whether it be 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So what you see from our panel and from what they've shared with you is a whole host of things that I try to teach the students at Vanderbilt, that every year you need to assess your knowledge, beliefs, habits, and skills and be sure they're going up, not down, that you're gaining those and not going. So what you see here are those skills and manifestations and beliefs of courage, resilience against all odds, perseverance, super high energy, 3 jobs. I don't think Dr. Thack didn't really give you the full story. I don't think this man slept for about 6 years as he worked those 3 jobs and also went to TSU and got a double major after he learned how to speak. He was a mathematical whiz. That's how he was able to do that and become a computer major. I don't think I would have made it through, Dr. Thack. Of course, hope, eternal hope, sensing opportunity, work ethic that is immeasurable, commitment to family, supporting the family. And then, of course, being surrounded by the fact that the communities are growing here in Nashville, that you now have a supportive environment, a collaborative environment of people that come from your countries, that understand your culture, your aspirations, your goals. And so what you're seeing really manifested on this stage is the American dream played out fully realized too in these gentlemen and this lady that are here on the stage. So I think that to me is a real, it brings about in my mind the fact we need to give them another applause, please. They're contributing mightily to the growth of Nashville. And I think one thing that is very clear as someone who has worked in the area of diversity and inclusion in my entire life is that there's no way to impair or stop the march of the diversification of America or Nashville or Tennessee. That's a reality, that is an inevitability. So we must embrace our diversity and make it part of our home. So thank you all again. In closing, I'd like to thank our partners in this event, Rebecca Price. Rebecca is still here from the Public Library. Thank you for all your support the last couple of years. I couldn't have done this without Dr. Thack and his support. Thank you, sir, again. And Moses Ochuno from Vandy, really important contributors for this. And then lastly, and of course, ending importantly, I can't do this work without my executive assistant, Marla Robertson, who's here. Marla, there she is. She makes this happen. Thank you all for coming. Please come to our last event. It's May 16th, and we're going to go back above Sub-Saharan Africa and talk about the communities from North Africa. So thank you for coming. I look forward to seeing you then.